I went through a few places in London where it could have been Baghdad if it wasn't for the uniquely English buildings. It could have been Baghdad. It did not look at all like London, and that's I guess racist to say in today's world, but it's not, because there's no assimilation. No assimilation. When that's not happening, how long is London or the West going to survive?
Come on, Glenn, stop being racist. Diversity is our strength, mate.
How? Divide and conquer. I mean, how?
That's what everyone says. I'm just telling you what the party line is. The party line is diversity is our strength. And diversity can be our strength if everybody who comes from different places comes together and says, we are all American.
Yes.
Or we are all British.
Yes.
We all subscribe to the same ideas.
Correct.
We all believe in the future of our country. We want to live by a broadly similar set of rules. We all believe that men and women are equal, for
Correct.
example, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what we have is something else. We don't have that, which is what I think a healthy multi-ethnic society looks like. We have multiculturalism, and that's the idea that people should be free to live any which way they want, speak any language they want, integrate or not integrate, up to them really, and operate in complete isolation from the country to which they've come, and when there's enough of them, to demand that country becomes more like the country from which they came.
We have our country's motto is E pluribus unum, from many, one. We're not one anymore. There's none of the big principles bring us together. And when I hear people on the street quoting Hitler, and I'm so used now to be called a Nazi because, and I don't know how, I've won the Defender of Israel award. I don't know how I'm anti-Semite, but somehow or another I'm an anti-Semitic Nazi. And then I hear people on the streets quoting Hitler. I wonder, is anyone going to wake up from this? Are there?
No. These people who spent 7 years at least calling everybody a Nazi, they don't recognize Nazis when they see them. And it's interesting because the counter-protesters we talked about a second ago, they were described as the far right in all the media publications in this country. They were held up as the real problem. And I keep saying to people, when I think of what we in the UK call the far right, I know it's a little bit different over in the US, but in the UK, when we talk about the far right, what we mean is people who are racist, people who are homophobic, people who think that women are second-class citizens and should be treated as such, and people who believe in the use of violence to achieve their political objectives. We've had the far right on the streets of our city for 5 weeks, and it doesn't look like these counter-protesters. It looks like people shouting for jihad, rise up, army of Muhammad, and as you say, praising Hitler. But if you import lots of people from places where praising Hitler is normal, this is what happens.
So where do we go from here? How do we? I mean, your government and our government is just getting weaker and weaker. It's honestly, if you had to judge them by their actions, they're all in with BLM protests, burning cities. They're all in with Hamas. Just judging by their actions. So
I think it's much worse than that. I don't think they're all in. I think they don't know what to do. They're scared. They're terrified. We have a political system that filters out, certainly in this country, anyone who's prepared to speak the truth. I mean, we just talked about one example of it. The one politician in the Conservative Party who was willing to be honest is the one that they've got rid of. And we have a political system that is calibrated precisely around making sure that nobody who's actually honest ever reaches a position of power. And if by some miracle they do, we get rid of them. And I don't know how that changes. When I speak to my Jewish friends in the UK, I'll be honest with you, most of them are talking about leaving.
To go where? Israel?
I probably not Israel. Maybe they hope that America is a place that still holds on to its values.
I hope so too, but I'm shocked but on what I'm seeing all across America. I mean, shocked. I've been warning about it. This is why the ADL has called me, a Nazi and anti-Semite because I've been warning about the seeds of the Holocaust. They've been planted here for 15, 20 years, and nobody's looking at what's sprouting up everywhere. And I guess you're a Nazi if you say, hey, we should pull those weeds from the garden and make sure that they don't grow. And now here they are, and it's worse than I thought.
Well, what you have is a combination of two things, both very dangerous. One is, obviously, Western countries now have significant populations of people who, and I'm not talking about peaceful moderate Muslims here, I'm talking about Islamists. We have a population big enough of Islamists now, and they seem to get along very well, inexplicably so, with all of these woke idiots that have been created on college campuses and in schools. And this is where this is a magical phenomenon of Queers for Palestine comes from. It's people who don't understand anything about the place about which they're talking about. And Glenn, I am actually starting a movement. I'd like people like us to get together and start fundraising for one-way tickets to Gaza for all of these people, so they can experience the true benefits of everything that they're praising. Hopefully that may be a way to solve the problem.
I don't. Is it stupidity? Is it just that? Is it just stupidity? Yes. It is.
Yes. It's stupidity and ideology. And this is the point that I think people in the West, and I'm someone who was born in the Soviet Union, so I have a slightly outsider's perspective. We are victims of our own success here in the West.
Yes.
We've built some of the most incredible societies in the history of humanity, including, by the way, on those very progressive values that these people love to talk about. If you care about women's rights, where is a better place to be a woman than the United States of America? If you care about gay rights, where is a better place to be gay than the United States of America? If you care about all sorts of other issues, where is a better place to be than the United States of America and other Western countries? Nowhere. But because we have given our citizens all these incredible opportunities where they don't have to think about anything other than, wake up, go to work, make money, have time with my family, etc., they're incredibly susceptible to ideology. And the one thing we've forgotten in the West, which strikes me as odd, given that you only have to look back about 80 years to see how powerful ideology really is. Yeah. We've forgotten that if you brainwash people long and hard enough, and if you don't teach them the values of your own society and instead teach them to hate the values of your own society, you will very quickly end up in a place where these people hate your own society. And as long as American schools and American colleges continue to teach young Americans that America is evil, then you will see the scenes that you see on the streets of America where you have all these young people tearing down American flags from various posts and whatever, because this is what they believe. And why would we be surprised about that when they have spent their entire life being educated by people who hate your country and its values?
So how do you turn somebody around? You meet somebody and they're honest, but they're stupid, or but they believe it, but they'll have a conversation with you. What do you say to them? Travel, buy a ticket, fly somewhere else, go to another part of the world, see how the rest of the world lives. I bet you people who go over to other countries, go to somewhere in Central Asia, where I grew up in Uzbekistan. See how people live in Uzbekistan, and then tell me America is bad. Tell me America is bad after you've been there. Go somewhere else. Go to Thailand, go to Cambodia, go to some part of the world where people are not quite as rich or as free as you. Tear down their flag. Go to Cambodia and tear down the Cambodian national flag in front of the parliament building there, or in front of one of the buildings there. Try it. See what happens. Go to North Korea. It's the socialist utopia that you keep telling me about. I only grew up in the Soviet Union. You must know better. Go there. Go to North Korea. Have a look. See what happens there. You can't speak freely in America. Okay, try there. Let's find out. Travel. That's one thing that, seeing is believing. This is why people are so, I don't know if you saw, I wrote an article for the Free Press about, called The Day the Delusions Died, yes, about October the 7th massacre. Seeing is believing. This is why people are so shocked and by the events of recent days and recent weeks. It changed you too, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, Glenn, and this is probably the first time that I've said this, so people who watch a lot of my stuff will be surprised. But I've spent the last 6 years since we started TRIGGERnometry, my YouTube show, and since I've become a public commentator, really saying I'm very concerned about the things that are happening on the left, but I come from the left. I'm somewhere in the center. There are a lot of things that trouble me on the right, and all of those things are still true.
Right.
But as of 5 weeks ago, my view is this isn't the time for ambivalence. There is a side that wants me killed, and there's a side that doesn't. I'm going to go with the one that doesn't.